Welcome to the 2021 Street Parking Vault. The Street Parking Vault is a one workout a week for 25-week series with the goal to help street parking members build consistency.
This, however, is the beginning of round 2. If you have done this before, this is your opportunity to retest the workouts or try a different version.
Customize these movements and choose a version that fits your ability. Your scores and weights don't matter. The goal is to maintain consistency from week to week. You just can't miss.
If this is your first time doing this workout, click on the link below, which will take you to the original version that breaks down all of the customizations, tips, as well as all the different versions of the workout.
All right, guys, it is time again for Atlas. This is one of my favorite of the 2021 Vault workouts because we've been doing lungers for a few years now, but this was the first time that we got to see the Atlas Lunge. Now this workout has a pretty long and pretty wide goal range. So my first challenge to any of you, if you had to shorten the run distance for whatever reason, or row or bike, for whatever reason last time, to do the full distance this time if you're feeling up to it. Another fun way that you can challenge yourself with this one is to do a more difficult version of the core movement. So if you did all supine toe touches last time laying on the ground, maybe if you feel up to it and you have a pull-up bar, you do some knee raises instead, or even try to do the first few toes to bar of each round with actual full toes to bar reps, even if you've got to go back to the supine toe touch for the rest of the reps. Of course, you can always use a heavier weight for the Atlas Lunge, and that's a fun go-to and something that I think a lot of people are honestly probably looking forward to retesting this one again. Now, this workout was originally done on the bike, so if you have a bike and you didn't use it last time, I would highly suggest giving that a try this time because the bike combined with all the lunging and the squatting really just adds a whole level of fun that you wouldn't experience if you do the run version. Now, if you were over 30 minutes last time on this one, figure out which section was giving you the most trouble. You can always use a little bit of a lighter weight, use a different version of the core movement, something that allows you to do bigger sets, or shorten the distance on that run, row, or bike to something that allows you to get it in around that 2-minute window and not much longer each time. Now, if you did shift last time and you're not quite ready to take on the full program A version, my challenge for you this time around is to add a little bit of weight to those unweighted lungers. So keep in mind that even if you're holding the weight in like the goblet position, or you could even put like some books in a backpack and throw that thing on for each set of the unweighted lungers, that it's still, what we're replacing is that Atlas Lunge. So it's still just a lunge squat. Don't turn it into a full lunger with the press. We wouldn't want to do that to you guys on this workout.
What's up, guys? I'm getting ready to tackle Atlas for the second time. Last time I did a mixture of program B and A, I guess. So no, I just did program B. So it was 400-meter run. I did do the run. I did the toes to bar and then the 65-pound barbell. This time, to protect my knees, I'm going to row on the rower. It's 500 meters if you're rowing. I'm sticking with same reps, toes to bar, same weight on the barbell. First time I did it, I got 27-24, and I fully expect this time for it to take me a little bit longer, but I'm hoping that I still finish in under 30 minutes. So I guess we'll see how it goes.
I'll restart it.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Anything for you, Alex. And we're off.
Okay, here we go. So, what do you think about this choice to do the rower instead of running or assault bike?
It wouldn't have been my first choice. What do you think about it, Jeb?
I'm very interested to see how this goes. We were talking earlier, and I think running is going to be a lot more taxing on the lungs, right? On like the cardiovascular component. And certainly there's an element of cardio in the bike and in the row as well, but I think just in terms of muscle endurance in the legs, the rower is going to be a lot more taxing. And we'll see how that plays out when it comes to these Atlas lunges.
Yeah, man, that's where it's like, oh, I hope that everything's going to go well on the row to lunge transition. Because, yeah, it's one of those things that I feel like I don't like to bike and lunge because I feel like it really taxes my legs a lot. I can't imagine rowing and then lunging. So we will see how it goes.
And not to mention, let's throw some toes to bar in the mix, which is a very grippy type movement. So you have the grip from the row, the grip from the toes to bar across 6 rounds. That may become a factor as well. Although I did talk to Alex beforehand, and she said that toes to bar, her hip flexors go a lot quicker than her grip does. So we shall see. There is some good, I guess you could say, eccentric hip flexor action in the row. So there's really no escape is what I'm getting at here.
Right. I was picking up what you're throwing down there. I will say, though, if you look, Alex is always really smart in a grippy workout about how she does hold things. So if you look, she is taking those smart breaks where she can in the grip on the rower. And she's actually almost really using mostly her fingertips. And then it seems like she's staying as relaxed as she can throughout. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think it's she is making some smart choices with the grip. You can see almost that little, I don't know what you would call that, but the little, she's just tapping those fingers, just loosen them up
like,
one at a time.
Here's the bar, and then she like kind of rested a little bit on her leg for a moment before she goes back in. Very smart. So that was a little over 210, I think.
Yeah, it was about 210 for that first 500 meter interval. We'll keep an eye on the time of those intervals. She's going to break these toes to bar up from the beginning, which I think is a very smart thing to do.
Yeah, I think she was saying she's going to go with like a 4-4-3 for these, which I think, or 4-4-2 would make sense in terms of math.
4-3-3, I believe.
There it is. There's the math.
Yeah.
I always love when I attempt to throw out the numbers and then realize immediately after I was wrong.
That's not it.
That's not right. So here we are, we're getting into the Atlas Lunge. So what is an Atlas Lunge, Jeb?
An Atlas Lunge is going to be a lunge, and a back squat.
Yikes.
Back racked lunge, I should say, because that is specific to this movement. It mimics the story of the god Atlas, who was forced to hold up the heavens for eternity on his back.
Forever. That's a bummer.
Yeah, so you've got 10 Atlas lunges per round. And if one Atlas lunge is essentially 3 reps, it is going to feel like eternity with that bar on your shoulders.
I bet. Although I will say this is the one moment in the workout where she can pretty much relax that grip. So she's not really having to, she's not having to use her hands to hold on to something so much as she's just kind of steadying it a bit.
That's true. That's a really good point, and also something to be mindful of if you are doing like the dumbbell version of this workout where you are still gripping something.
Yeah. So she finished that one actually a couple of seconds ahead of 6 months ago, Alex. Way to go, Alex.
Yeah, that's very impressive. I know her goal was just to finish under 30.
Yeah.
Her thinking was that with the row, that her rounds might actually be a little bit slower, and so she's not planning on trying to go faster than before, where essentially she was doing something completely different in terms of the workout. So rather than comparing scores, she's just trying to run her own race here and do it in under 30. I think that she will have no problem doing that.
Yeah, I think she's got that on lock for sure, as long as she can keep the same approximate pacing. Now, last time as she went, which is to be expected, the rounds took a little longer each time until we got to the very end and she picked up the pace a little bit. I wonder if she's going to be able to keep this pace or if that's also going to start to take a toll.
Yeah, I imagine, and I think it should be to be expected for most of us doing this workout, that the times are probably going to slow down in those middle to later rounds, like rounds 3, 4, and 5 could potentially fall off a little bit and then hopefully pick things back up for that last final push. I mean, you don't want to be super fast coming way hot out of the gate,
and then fall way off.
Yeah.
You want to keep a tight sort of range, I'd say within maybe a minute. Each round should be kind of within a minute of the other rounds. But expect that the times will slow down a little bit.
For sure. I feel like it looks to me, I mean, I'm not a coach, but it looks like Alex has really great form on the rower.
She does. She has very good form, and she's very intentional with her form. She's making little adjustments to her technique, and she's not just doing that randomly or as a reaction to fatigue or something like that. She's being very deliberate, very intentional with what she's using to efficiently pull. And that is probably in consideration of the other things that she's doing, like the toes to bar and the Atlas Lunge.
Yeah. And here we are back to the toes to bar. Let me try this again. She's going to split it up into a 4-3-3.
I would say that's probably what's going to happen. That was the first
Nailed
four.
Nailed it. 4-3-3. Because math. It's also got great toes to bar. I guess I could say overall, Alex has great form. Like, she's
Alex
very
is
intentional
a
with her
very
form.
good mover. Yes.
Yeah. Nice. And on to the Atlas lunges. Ugh. The bummer about an Atlas lunge in this amount, the 10 Atlas lunge, right? Like, you don't want to put the bar down in between because you don't want to have to pick it back up. But it's just enough that you really kind of do want to put the bar down in between. Like, you can do the 10, but it's not going to feel great.
No, and honestly, if you need to take a break during the set of 10, I would highly recommend just doing whatever you can to rest with that bar on your shoulders, and maybe just don't lunge for a few seconds. Take a couple breaths with that bar on your back rack. But if you got to put that thing down on the ground and then pick it back up, it's soul crushing.
How long though? So here's the thing. I'm the type of person that I often mistakenly rest, quote unquote, with a weight on my back for a bit too long. So at what point is it like, okay, this is not a rest. Now you just should probably put the bar down.
I mean, if you're getting up into that like 10-second plus range, then you probably should just put the thing down. But if you stop in the top there and you take like, I usually go like 3 to 5 breaths, right?
Yeah.
And then get back to it.
Very nice. So she finished at 7:52. I want to say that was like 4 minutes and 2 seconds.
Yep. You want to, and you are correct as well.
Yes, nailed it. I mean, it's because I have a pen and paper, and I could look at the numbers and not just let them float around inside my brain.
Nice.
It always helps.
It does help.
So Alex has a rower at home. So she does get a chance to row on a fairly regular basis. If someone has, say, they drop in somewhere that has a bunch of equipment and they don't normally row at all, would you recommend they decide to take the rowing choice?
I mean, if you don't row at all,
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend starting rowing with this particular workout.
Right.
Just because it's a lot, I mean, it's 6 rounds and you're doing 500 meters each round.
Yeah.
So, I would say practice your rowing technique, do some intervals in practice. And what's cool about the rower is that you get feedback in terms of efficiency. So if you row 500 meters with a certain technique and then you rest and then you row 500 meters and you focus on something else, you know which one is going to feel more efficient for you and where you're going to feel that fatigue in your muscles. And then you can make little adjustments from there. Now, we also do have some rowing technique content that is coming soon. So stay tuned for that.
Fun. Yeah, because a lot of people, if you haven't had experience with rowing before, you look at it and it's like, yeah, how hard can it be? Like, I'm just like pulling on this thing and pushing with my feet. Cool. But there's actually a lot more technique to a row than one would think if they haven't tried it before.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at what she's doing in terms of the way her body and her joints are moving, it's very similar. It's like the first 90% of a power clean.
Yeah.
And as we all know, that is a very technical movement that you can do terribly and inefficiently, and you will pay for it, or you can do it well and it actually feels pretty effortless.
Yeah. All right, here she goes onto some toes to bar, taking a moment to chalk up. She did mention beforehand that last time, because she was running and she had those knee sleeves, she was like, in between running and getting to the toes to bar and the lunges, she was fiddling with her knee sleeves. And I think she is almost going to miss that a little bit here. She's trying to take intentional, like, moments to breathe, but doesn't
Right.
have the knee sleeve to kind of rely on to give her that extra moment, you know?
Yeah. Sometimes those little crutches can be helpful because you actually do get a moment to breathe and recover, but they can also work against you when you're like messing with the apparel and then spending way too much time chalking up and all that kind of thing.
I love to be, really intentional with my chalking. We're like, I'm gonna chalk this little piggy, and then
Yep.
this little piggy, and then this little piggy. Okay, and
Oh,
now
don't
we'll
forget
go
this
again.
one.
Don't forget this little piggy.
Now, I also just wanted to point out on that last rowing interval, our time was a little bit over 2:20, I want to say. So you can see that the rowing interval times are slowing just a little bit. And again, I think completely to be expected.
100%. Same thing with like when she did it last time with the run. You're not going to keep necessarily the same exact pace each time, especially with a 6-rounder. I mean, if it's a 3-4 rounds, I think you could try to push to kind of stay more in that range. But once you hit that 6 rounds, like, it's going to fluctuate a bit.
And to be honest, if she's 3 rounds deep into this thing and her third row interval is 10 seconds or 12 seconds off from the first one, that tells us that she has been pacing it really well. Probably could have gone out way hot in that first 500 and maybe done a sub 2 minute, but would have really paid for it later.
All right, here we are, starting round 4. I want to say this last time took her 4 minutes and 15 seconds. Is that right? You want to check my math on that one, Jeb?
Yes, 4:15.
It's official. It was definitely 4 minutes and 15 seconds. So Jeb, what's the shift version of this workout for anyone out there who's thinking of tackling this but not quite sure that this is the route they want to go? What's a shift idea?
So the shift version is great. It's because it's a 16-minute AMRAP. So no matter what, you're working for 16 minutes. You're gonna do a minute jog or continuous movement, 12 sit-ups, and then 8 unweighted lungers. So mechanically speaking, movement-wise, very, very similar movements, but we're breaking it up into, the rounds will basically just go a little bit quicker or have a little bit less in each round. And that may allow you to do more rounds, but it gives you more transitions, so you're not stuck doing the same thing for what feels like all of eternity.
All of eternity. Oh my goodness. I did a shift workout a couple of weeks ago, and it had unweighted lungers in it. I was so surprised. I have not done an unweighted lunger before, but the unweighted lunger was, I would say, very close to as taxing of a movement as a weighted lunger. I was unpleasantly surprised.
Oh yeah, they're nasty. They're nasty. Don't sleep on the unweighted lunger.
Heck no. I was very, like, I told my, because the reason I did a shift specifically on this day was I was very tired, but I still wanted to get my workout in, and I was like, oh, cool, this is be chill. It's unweighted lungers.
Yeah.
One round in, I was like, this is not chill.
Yeah. No, not at all. And now the other thing that's cool with if you're kind of trying to transition between shift and maybe one of the program A, B, or whatever.
Yeah, what could someone do?
Versions, I would say first thing, just because the program version is 6 rounds, just chop a couple rounds off of there.
Okay.
And maybe just go with 4 rounds.
I like 4 rounds.
And so if shift is taking 16 minutes, maybe you want to challenge yourself to work a little bit longer and have something closer to that 20-minute range. So set yourself up in program A, 4 rounds, and have each round take about 5 minutes, and then you'll be good. You'll be right there in that 20-minute range.
Right on. Yes, that's not a bad idea. I like that idea, Jeb. All right, here she is in round 4, hitting her 10 Atlas lunge. Like we said before, an Atlas lunge is a lunge, and then a squat. What do you think you're going to use for this, Jeb? What are you doing this time around?
I think I'm gonna go barbell or maybe sandbag.
Ooh.
I did the dumbbells last time.
Yeah.
And that was fun. I liked that. But you know what? I'm probably gonna go barbell just because the barbell does represent the Atlas storyline the best. I mean, that's...
Trying to stay on theme?
Yeah, I'm gonna stay on theme this time.
Man, I don't know. I feel like I really want to hit this one with a sandbag.
This would be a fun one with the sandbag.
Right? I just
sure.
feel like I'd be into it. And then even maybe I could get frisky and do like some supine toe touches or, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that actually brings up a really good point. The toes to bar, if toes to bar is something that maybe you either can't do at all or you have a real hard time stringing them together, maybe only 1 or 2 at a time, then I would recommend customizing somehow.
Okay.
And it could be anything. If you want to spend more time on the bar, just go in with some knee raises so you can do some bigger sets. Or those supine toe touches, the V-ups, the alternating V-ups, all really good options.
You know what's crazy is I was doing a workout the other day with V-ups, and then I was getting sloppy, and I knew it. I was like, these are ridiculous. I'm kind of kicking my legs up and then flopping. I look like a fish. So it's like, I'm going to switch to alternating V-ups. And although I could do them with better form, I was also shocked at how tired I got from them because I was able to do them faster. I was just dying.
They're devastating.
It was crazy. I was so shocked. I felt cool though, because for a minute I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna rep these out. And then yet again, I get into the next round. I was like, oh my God, I'm dying again.
Yep.
It's just so interesting how the different variations of a movement can be slightly different and make it quote unquote easier or harder, but it might make one part easier and another part harder.
Exactly.
It's not necessarily a better or worse version. It's what you can do and what you can push yourself with, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, we do, say all the time, we kind of preach this idea of variance, of doing things differently, of switching up movement combinations, and even equipment. So if you have the option, forget about what it says necessarily on the official workout. If you want to replace a movement and customize in a way just to have something that's a little bit different, then go for it. And it actually will enhance your fitness that way.
Oh, 100%. Those alternating V-ups lit up my obliques.
Oh yeah.
The next day I twisted to get something. I was like, what did I do? And not in like bad, painful way, but like, this is sore.
Yeah.
And this is not something I'm used to feeling that like muscle fatigue in. I was like, oh, I gotta hit these more often. Gotta get me some like fancy little side going on.
Fancy little side abs things.
Yeah, I want them side abs. Well, I'm gonna focus on the front abs first. I would like abs.
Yeah.
I'm working on it.
Well, guess what? You've got them.
They're there under the other stuff. They're there. I want visible abs. I want abs that like walk through the door first. People are like, what's up with these floating abs? Oh no, that's just Nicole. Look, she's right behind those floating abs. One day. Maybe when I'm 50.
Just consistency over time. Keep going.
I'll get there eventually. Just chipping away slowly.
Speaking of
so
abs,
slowly.
Alex crushing these toes to bar. She's in the 5th round, I believe.
She is. She is in the 5th round. She is partway through her 5th round now, which has got to feel both awesome to be almost done and like horrible to be in the 5th round. She's tired.
I will say though, I mean, she was just sitting over here trying to be all coy saying, I just want to do it in under 30 minutes. I think she is going to crush her previous time. And I think doing a harder version, if you ask me.
Yeah. And okay, to remember, her previous time was 27:24. Definitely gonna crush it, right? I feel like it.
Yeah, I think
Based on
so.
current math, of which we all know I'm great at, she's definitely gonna crush it.
Yeah.
She's doing good. I know her knee. Alex has ongoing, like just, I wouldn't say chronic, but yes, chronic, in that it's been ongoing knee issues. She's had some knee problems over the course of her life. So things like this, she has to be really intentional about her form. She can't just willy-nilly be letting her knee flop all over the place. So what's a good lunge look like, Jeb?
So a good lunge, I mean, that is a very loaded question.
Sorry.
But you can see what she's doing is a reverse lunge, right? So she's stepping back.
Which is great for knee problems. As a person who also has knee problems, they're definitely my favorite type of lunge.
Yeah, so if you step forward, it's going to be a lot more quad intensive, and which is also really great. I love a forward lunge, but it does, those tendons have to work a little harder around the knee, and so that's 20:52. Finishing up that fifth round. She's cruising.
She is.
So anyways, if you step back, it allows the knee to not travel forward as much.
Yeah.
It stays more directly over the ankle.
Okay.
Allows you to drive through the heel to stand back up. So it does engage a little bit more of the glutes and the hamstrings, which takes pressure off of the knee because now your joints that are moving or taking a little bit more of the strain, the load, is the hip versus the knee.
Cool.
So yeah, if you've got knee issues, taking some of the load out of the knee and putting it into the hip is a good thing.
What are some important points to consider when doing the lunge? Like the things that, so for example, when you're doing an air squat, you want to make sure your back isn't rounded. You want to make sure your chest is up. So what are like some of the very important points when doing your lunge of like where your knee might be or where your foot placement is?
Okay, so if you're talking reverse lunge, you want to keep the knee pretty much right over the ankle, and it might travel a little bit forward and backward. It needs to travel in line with the toes. You don't want that knee to go inside.
Right, you don't want caving in.
Yeah, you don't want it to cave in. And then for the back leg, you want to step back far enough that allows that front knee to stay where it needs to stay. We generally recommend that you make contact with the floor, but you don't have to. If you've got knee issues, just go to a hover and then step back.
And if you're on something hard, you can always roll, even if you don't have like an ab mat or something, you can put a little towel under there.
Yeah.
Tappity tap. You don't want to slam your knee into the ground.
You don't want to slam your knee. So whether you have a cushion or no cushion, you want to be gentle, you want to be controlled. I think that's the biggest thing with any movement, and definitely in the lunges, and even more so if you've got any issues with your knees, is the movement needs to be controlled. If you're out of control, if the bar is leading the way and determining the movement, and you rather than you, then you're opening yourself up for some issues.
Alex is over there. She's crushing the row. She is well into the row, and 6 months ago, Alex has just left for her final run. So she is well ahead of 6 months ago, Alex. She feels well ahead of 6 months ago, Alex. I am sure it's taking a toll, but she is crushing it. Look, insider information. Right before this started, before we pressed record, Alex is like, I don't want to do this. But she's crushing it.
She's crushing it. 6 months ago, Alex is nowhere to be found at this point.
Trailing well behind present day Alex.
That's right.
Oh God, I can't even say the word. Consistency is indeed key.
Consistency.
is key.
But really, it is though, you guys.
But really,
It is.
for sure. all laughs aside, it's all about that consistency.
All
Here we go,
right,
Alex.
so final 10 Atlas lunges. So we were talking about the lunges earlier. Check out how she handles the lunges here. Another little thing is the width of your feet.
Oh, okay.
A lot of times when we lunge, for whatever reason, we kind of step our feet into this narrow line.
Yeah.
And you want to keep your feet at least hip width, if not even slightly wider than hip width. Creates a little bit more of a stability in the base. And the more narrow your feet are, the harder it is to balance. And what needs to stabilize? Well, the ankles and the knees do. So if you want to make them not have to work as hard, then you want to give yourself a good, solid, stable base. Feet stay hip to shoulder width apart is the nutshell of that one.
Nutshell, got it. Shoulder width apart. Come on, Alex. Here we go.
Digging deep here, last few reps.
she's going to be so happy to get this over with. I'm going to be so happy for her to be done with this.
Whoa.
25, 20.
Or then over 2 minutes.
Solid 2 minutes and 4 seconds ahead of 6 months ago Alex. Even though she was rowing, using the same weight, hitting those toes to bar, the grip was obviously not a factor for Alex today. The row, she was able to stay consistent with and just crushed it all the way around across the board. Her times, she was at 350, 402, 415, 422, 423, and then something at the end that I haven't figured out the math yet too, but still did really well. I think she finished under 4 and a change. It was 4 and change. Either way, she crushed it all the way around. Way to go, Alex. Let's head in for some tips.
Oh man. Oh, I'm breathing heavy. All right, guys. I said this the first time I did it, and I'll say it again. Do not go out guns blazing. It may be easy to, especially on something like a run where you don't have a nice screen staring you down in the face to tell you what your pacing is, to tell you if you are going out too hot or going out too slow. I would say just rein it in from the get-go. If you typically go out at a certain speed, cut it back some. And then the challenge is to try sustaining that pace the entire time, not to continue falling off each round. So for instance, with a rower or even a bike where you do have a screen and it's telling you what your pacing is, I think the reason I beat my last score was because the screen pushed me to sustain roughly the same 500-meter pace. So I was pretty much bouncing around from 206 per 500 meters to 209, 210. So that really kept me pushing. But that's a more moderate pace for me. In a workout where I only have to do that 2 or 3 times maybe, I would hold somewhere closer to like 2 minutes per 500 meters. So you can see how that pacing is a little bit more sustainable for me, and then holding on to it got incredibly difficult. So try doing that from the start with the cardio piece in particular, but also for something like toes to bar, which are super skill dependent, grip dependent, and like hip flexor dependent. And once those go, you know, it's really hard to get it back, especially with a long workout like this one. So I broke up 4-3-3 from the beginning with really short breaks in between, and I was able to sustain that. So again, break from the beginning with what you think you can hold across the 6 rounds. If you do end up, you need to break more frequently, that's okay. Just use it enough to like shake out your arms, give your grip a break, but then get right back to it. For the Atlas lunges, I know they mentioned it, but what equipment you choose will likely determine if you break those or not. For something like barbell and sandbag where you can rest it on your back, I really encourage you to dig in and try to get all 10 reps without dropping the weight, because it's incredibly mentally daunting, the whole thing. You're like 3rd round in, not even halfway. It gets really overwhelming and you start to panic a little bit. So it's gonna take you kind of digging in and not giving up on yourself. For something like dumbbells, it's gonna get grippy because you're kind of holding it at the shoulders. So it might be worth dropping or setting those down. The nice thing about that is you only have to get them back to your shoulders. You don't have to get them to your shoulders overhead and then back to your back rack like you would a barbell and a sandbag. So if you had to break that, I say maybe after the 6th rep, so that you only have 4 left to do once you pick them back up. Otherwise, guys, just buckle up. Know that it's gonna be a long one, whether you move fast or you move slow pretty much. I think even if you're moving fast, you're looking at over 22 minutes of work probably, which is relatively long for us at street parking. So just know that going in. Don't go out too hot, stick with it, and have fun with Atlas.